do you look at that trade-off of like selling some Bitcoin to get the thing, or borrowing against your Bitcoin, but giving away the custody of maybe 5% or 10% or 15% of your stack, and maybe losing more Bitcoin in the end than actually you would have lost if you just sold some? How do you look at that trade-off when it comes to I have to buy something in my life?
So that's a really great question, because that's what a lot of people wonder, right? I've been stacking for 4 years. I got a lot of Bitcoin saved up. I hate selling my Bitcoin. So what am I going to do, right? Am I going to sell the Bitcoin, or am I going to go borrow against it? I think you just have to be honest with yourself with what you're doing, right? Borrowing against it is very risky. And the reason why borrowing against it is risky is because, any loan that you do is over-collateralized. An over-collateralized loan, that means that, and this is how it's been, right, with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's price moves up and down, it's so volatile, they always make you over-collateralize your loan. So say you wanted, $20,000 of Bitcoin. You're remodeling your home, right? You need $20,000 of Bitcoin. Well, you have to put $40,000 of Bitcoin into this exchange, right? Someone else custodies it. Someone else has the keys to $40,000 of your Bitcoin. During that time, now what's interesting is you're probably taking out a loan and you're paying 9 or 10 or 11 or 12% for this loan, right? And you're paying because you have a payment that you have to make every single month on this loan, because you have to pay it back, right? Like, you eventually have to pay back the loan that you're taking out. When you pay it back, then you can either refinance it again, or you can, take control of your Bitcoin. So first of all, what can happen as you put your money into Bitcoin? You put your Bitcoin in Bitcoin. Are we in a bull market right now? Or are we in a bear market? Right? Do we know? Like, if it was in November of 2021, did we know that the bear market was about to start and that Bitcoin was going from 69,000 all the way down to 15,000? So what happens is, as the price goes down, so say now the price of Bitcoin that you have that's over collateralized goes from $40,000, and the price of Bitcoin gets cut in half. Now it goes to 20. Well, now you have to put up more Bitcoins, so you're back up at $40,000 of Bitcoin, right? That's collateralized. You have to post more collateral. And if you don't have any more Bitcoin during that time, say you only have $40,000 of Bitcoin, that's your whole stack. Okay, well, you don't have any more Bitcoin to post as collateral as Bitcoin goes down. So as the price of Bitcoin goes down, you risk what's called a margin call. And if you get margin called, what they essentially say is, all this Bitcoin that you've posted as collateral is now ours, right? That money is ours. Keep your fiat, and now it's ours. So what you've done is you've traded $40,000 of Bitcoin for $20,000 of fiat. Good luck, and then you're doing this whole remodel. You're like, I'm going to pay it off and blah, blah, blah. And you end up losing it all. Another thing that can happen during that time. So again, you have to post twice as much as what you have. You have to pay a loan that's like 12% that you're paying on what you've received. You risk a margin call. Another thing is, someone else holds your keys, so you don't know what they're doing with your Bitcoin. One thing that was interesting with BlockFi, right? You put your Bitcoin in a BlockFi and you post it as collateral for a loan. If you want to borrow against it, you put it in there. Then as soon as you want to verify where your Bitcoin is, you can't. You want to verify in your node. Okay, I'm going to go on my node. I'm going to go verify where my Bitcoin is. It's as soon as you send it in and post it, they've taken it and sent it somewhere else. And now it's almost like a coin join. You have no idea where that Bitcoin went. One thing that someone like Strike is saying is, you're going to have transparency. When you post your Bitcoin as collateral, we're going to give you transparency, and it's going to be in this, where you can verify on your node that your Bitcoin is where it should be. right? That doesn't mean that you own the keys to it, though. At any point in time, they can take your Bitcoin and move it to wherever they want to, and then that becomes a scary situation. So someone owns your keys. You can't really verify where your Bitcoin is. Normally, I guess you can now if you do it with Strike. You have a 12% loan that you're paying, and you're always in a worry if Bitcoin drops 50% or if the bull market is over. What's happened in every bear market is the price of Bitcoin gets cut by like 70, 80%. So those are the things that you have to worry about. If you time it really well, then you've done a great job, right? If you time it at the bottom of the bull market or the bottom of the bear market, you can ride that up. You don't have to worry about a margin call. You can like chip away some of your Bitcoin and pay off that loan because your Bitcoin's just gone up like 10x, but why not just stack the Bitcoin during that time? That's the bet that you're making if you just buy the Bitcoin. Me personally, ever since I was a part of BlockFi and I lost my Bitcoin, which I did post as collateral, and then I posted more Bitcoin as collateral because the price was dropping, and then BlockFi just ended up going bust, right? So, in the middle, after I've already posted Bitcoin, it's the worst case scenario, right? You posted twice as much Bitcoin to get the fiat, and then the price of Bitcoin drops. You go, okay, I'm going to dig into my stack. I have to post more because I don't want to lose this Bitcoin that I have. Then it drops. Then you have to post more Bitcoin again, right? Like as it drops, you have to continually add more Bitcoin and collateralize that. As you do that, then one day you wake up and you go, this company is going to die. And now I could either pay off this loan, which I have to sell more Bitcoin to pay off the loan to get my Bitcoin back. But I'm worried that in the moment that I pay off because it takes like a week. So it takes a week for me to pay off the loan for them to give me my Bitcoin back. What happens if during that week I pay off my loan and the company goes bust? And when I had that idea, the company went bust that week. So I was like, well, I'm glad at least I didn't pay off that loan, and then I would have lost even more Bitcoin. So those are the risks that you run, which it like during a bull market, it feels like the bull market promises are pretty and they're sweet and they feel like Bitcoin's never going to be volatile ever again, that it's only going to go up. But then the bear market, you get awakened to a reality of this is, there's risky things that can happen along the way. Again, I'm never going to tell people what to do with their money. I believe in that people should be allowed to do what they want to do with their money. If they feel like, hey, there's a product out there where I can collateralize my Bitcoin and get fiat and I can borrow it, and this time is different and Bitcoin's only going up, like the institutions are buying, countries are buying, we're in a super cycle. It's an eternal September. Everyone's going to keep working and keep buying Bitcoin. That's great. I just don't think we're there yet, because when I go around and I talk to people, they still have no clue what Bitcoin is. Like people that I've still yet to meet someone. I've been studying Bitcoin since 2017, so for 8 years I've been studying it. For 6 years I've been a buyer of Bitcoin, and I've still yet to meet someone just randomly. Right? Not when I go to Bitcoin meetup. Yeah. Okay. If I go to the Bitcoin conference, yeah, I'll meet true Bitcoiners. But when I'm just out and about doing my daily business, buying groceries or at work or talking to friends or talking to friends of friends or talking to family or friends of family, I've never met a Bitcoin maxi ever. Like in this whole 8 years, I've never met someone who's been like, here's what you got to do. Buy Bitcoin, avoid everything else, hold your keys. And so I still don't know if we're there yet, to the point of this is a super cycle. I still feel like there's probably going to be another, at least one more cycle that we're going to go through before we kind of hit this hyperinflation and you hit Bitcoin, really soaring. But maybe there's going to be a lot more than one cycle left. Maybe it's just cycles forever. So I'm always an advocate of, for me personally, I got burned doing the whole collateralizing thing and borrowing against my Bitcoin. I just don't think that the products are very, I don't think that they're very enticing right now. Maybe as Bitcoin becomes more, as it becomes less volatile, when it hits like $15 million or $30 million, then we're talking about maybe it becomes less volatile. You're not worried about the huge drawdowns, and then there's going to be banks that will do it with you, right? And you'll get like a 2% loan instead of a 12% loan, and I think then maybe that becomes more attractive. But right now, I don't think there's any products out there that really do a good enough job for you to borrow against your Bitcoin. And so for me personally, it's just so much easier to just say, hey, if I'm in a bind, I need, my car broke down or whatever, let me just chip away and sell the Bitcoin that I need. And so I can spend it on what I need. Bitcoin to me is savings. And so when that's what you save things up for. You have savings if you have an emergency, you have a family emergency, or you have an idea, a business that you want to start, right? And so those are the things that I look at. If you have a business that you want to start, you have some savings, like I have to put some of my savings into this business because I want to make it work. That's how I look at it. So there's a lot of different reasons why you might have to sell your Bitcoin. Again, make it something that's an emergency or something that you would sell your savings for in the first place. It's not, I don't look at it so much as like, this is a thing that I need yield on. But everyone's entitled to do whatever they want to do. But for me personally, I would never do that. I would never borrow against my Bitcoin until I could really look at the conditions that I'm putting myself in and evaluate that and understand that, okay, these are good conditions now, which again, that would be Bitcoin needs to be a lot more stable. It needs to be way less volatile, which I love the volatility of Bitcoin because it's volatile to the upside. I want my Bitcoin. I'm young. I'm going to be around for another, 60 years. So I want Bitcoin to be volatile for a long time because that's good. Because when it's volatile to the upside. It's also volatile to the downside, but overall to the upside. And the loans need to be better, better priced. And so if the loans are so high, it's just, to me, it doesn't make sense right now.
I love those points. I mean, you're 100% correct. With interest rates are just way too high on those products. Like paying a 12% interest just doesn't make sense for me. Especially like if we compare it to other assets, collateral that we can use, like a house, you get a way better loan on that. And why is that? Like, just because we are early to that whole game, because a house, real estate, is such a worse collateral than Bitcoin. Bitcoin you can liquidate right now in that very second. A house can take months till it's sold and stuff like that. And so it's for me, it's unimaginable why the rates are so high. I think we're just early to that whole market. We are early to Bitcoin, and we're even earlier to borrowing against the Bitcoin. But I like the point that you brought up, that like that's what I got from it. If you transfer your Bitcoin away to someone else that gives you fiat, it's like selling Bitcoin, because you don't know what they're doing with it. You almost sold your Bitcoin. And then it's the question, do you want to sell $20,000 or $40,000 of Bitcoin? Because if you need 20,000, you can transfer 20,000, or you transfer 40,000 and borrow against it and pay interest rates on it and have that risk. And especially I like that point, and that's why I personally I'm at the point where I had to decide, do I want to borrow against it or sell it, because I earn more Bitcoin than I like most of my income is already in Bitcoin, so I have to sell some to cover fiat expenses. And I came to the conclusion, I want calmness in my life. I want to focus 100% on the things that I do to upscale my earning potential, and I want to just have everything in Bitcoin. That's all. Like, I don't have anything else. Like, literally anything. Like, yeah, I have a microphone and a computer and stuff like that, but like
you
no
gotta have some
asset at
clothes.
all.
Yeah, one other thing that, and I think the selling points that they give you too, right, which is a good selling point, is you don't have to pay taxes when you post your Bitcoin as collateral and get fiat back, which is true, right? Because it's not a tax occurring event because you're posting your Bitcoin, you're not selling it. But when you sell your Bitcoin, then you also have to pay taxes on top of that, right? So it maybe one day we get to a point where it makes sense, and that would be great if they can get a product that's better. I'd love that, but I think right now they have to have. I mean, they have to have these loans that are so high because, like what you said, most institutions don't understand what's going on with Bitcoin, and it's not just like and I don't know how Strike does it, right? Because I haven't done it with them, but with BlockFi, it wasn't like BlockFi gave you the fiat. It's like they partner with an institution, and like that's how it's kind of worked through. This institution gives you that fiat, and they give you the fiat like right away. It's kind of nuts, and you feel it's this false feeling that I'm so rich now, and I could always post Bitcoin and I could get fiat if I needed it, and I don't have to pay a tax on it. But then the taxes, like the tax that you're paying is the 12% that you're paying. Like that's the interest rate that you're paying, or the tax would be like the fear, right, of getting liquidated as Bitcoin goes down. The tax, like it's an unknown tax. That the unknown tax is much worse than just the known tax. Okay, I'm going to have to pay a tax on selling my Bitcoin. I know what that tax is, and you don't know what the tax is, and the multiple different types of tax, or how it is taxing against you and against your psyche when you're put in a situation where you're like, I am going to get liquidated and I could lose all this Bitcoin.
Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.